back to InHerSelf podcast,
where we talk about faith, family, finance, and friendship.
So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on all social media platforms.
And make sure to turn your notifications on to be notified whenever we post new content.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Welcome back.
Sing.
No, I'm not.
You know what? You sing when I sing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I start singing, you
then
just
I'll
go,
sing.
That's
It's a beautiful
some
harmony.
Stuff. That's some bogus stuff. Whatever. How y'all doing out there in TV land?
I hope they're happy, and I hope they remain happy after this episode.
I think they will be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are going to be able to identify, especially millennials who have children. They're going to really love this episode.
Well, they're the ones with all the kids. Ooh. With that being said, today's topic is bridging the gap.
Yes. Between who, though?
Y'all kids.
Not y'all kids, you auntie.
I am. The younger generation between, well, I can't say us millennials because they just broke the news to me that I'm not a millennial anymore. But between millennials and
Gen
the
Z.
younger generation.
I got it right. Gen Zs.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And then after that, it is Gen Alphas, who are the COVID babies.
Yeah.
My Lord. But we were definitely talking about how we were raised much different than Gen Zs are. And I attribute a lot of that, just speaking candidly about how I was raised, how my mom was. She was very, very firm, very stern. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. And I instill bits and pieces of what I have or what I appreciated growing up, but not everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wish that my mom would have had more conversations trying to understand what I was going through, that there was a complete disconnect. Like when she was in school, no knock, but you guys didn't have cell phones and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, they didn't.
And so no knock to us now millennials, social media wasn't popping like that. It had just became to be. You know, the world, we called it was www dot.
Right.
Now you don't have to put www nothing. You just put in whatever. Do you notice that?
Now, I guess I didn't, because I still always put www dot.
I want you to stop. I want you to be for real, because you're younger than me. And you talking about you still put www dot.
Yeah, I do. I didn't even, until you just said it, I'm like, dang, we don't have to do that. I didn't know I was going to talk to you offline. Like, we got to do that.
No, you just put in the regular.
I didn't know that.
Website.
Yeah, but see, you have children and they were just born with the phone in their hand.
That ain't got nothing to do with my children.
Okay, I tried to take it.
You did. They had nothing to do with them. I just know you just put in the website. But nevertheless, yes, when we were growing up compared to when our parents were growing up, it was a different world, and it's definitely different now. Like, again, I was terrified of my mom. Now, I was bad in middle school. And I ain't gonna hold you. I was real bad. I ain't gonna say everything I was doing, but Kayla, who watched this, girl, I know you know, bad at Sly Middle School.
I feel like there's different levels of like bad though, right? I was like the promiscuous, like I needed to know about the boys. It's just polar opposite to what I am now. But that's how I was in middle school. Like I was like, I need a boyfriend. I was doing inappropriate things that I had no business doing. That was my middle school year. So I'm afraid.
That's still a thing. They're doing more stuff now. We was thinking about sex, they having it. We was thinking about watching pornography, and some of us were actually doing those things. But now there was a level of, I cannot get caught. If I'm going in the closet, in the basement, or in the corner with the lights on. Like you had a level of secrecy because you were afraid of there was shame with it. Now these kids sit in front of you, not mine.
Yeah.
But they will sit in front of you and do whatever that they want to do because they don't care. There's no level of...
Because it's okay. Like, Pornhub and things of that nature, when we were younger, you were ashamed. You on there? Like, what? You shouldn't be on there. Now, OnlyFans is a thing. You want to be on there because you're making the money from it. So that's why the children are like, boom, I'm not ashamed to do it because the influencer do it and she a millionaire. Look at the house she got. Look at the car she got, all of that. And the parents want to be rich too. So they like, oh, just go ahead. Just live it up. Our parents would never.
It's modern day prostitution. Prostitution used to be illegal.
Yeah.
Now
it's
do what you want to do. However, get it how you live.
Yeah.
That is the dumbest phrase I have ever heard in my life, because get it how you what?
we were curious and afraid. They're curious and let's try and see.
And we'll worry about the consequence that there will be none later.
Yeah.
And it's different because how we're raising our children compared to someone else's children who are not God-fearing, who does not respect authority, and who does not have any kind of level of just standard whatsoever. You want everybody to just, however you feel, whatever. Like the children having more authority than the teachers. You having more say than an adult. Like, what?
The culture is sensitive.
Oh.
Because if you do or say anything to piss off the culture, you're canceled. Back when we had the right to say, no, I'm not doing that. And everybody said, okay, that's cool, whatever. Now, if a child says, I'm not doing that, they're shamed, they're bashed, they're not a part of the crew. And now you're like, oh, well, now I have to do what they doing because I want to be. That's why you got a lot more, in my opinion, suicide in children these days now, because they just want to be included. And we didn't have to deal with that to the magnitude that they do now.
Right. And I think the primary reason is because, as you just stated, what was the norm back then is no longer the norm now. Mm-hmm. And so our children spend hours upon hours in these school systems and with these new regulations, these policies, and they telling you, and they're teaching what are these teachers teaching these children that it's okay to feel this way, to think this way, to say this. And if your parents, they're teaching them to rebel against the parents. You don't like what your mama's saying. You don't like what we have help. You wanna have sex and do whatever, and your parents not letting you, call this number. You don't want to do and then you get mad when they are disrespecting you and they calling you out your name and they throwing chairs and temper tantrums and putting your business on the social media and whatever. Now you want the parental influence. You didn't want that. So it's like, it's on both sides. You as a parent, you're like, do I homeschool them? Do I put them in a Christian-based school? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do?
Now it's going to be my next question. How do you balance the two? Because for me, school was a totally different world than at home. I was cussing. I was fighting. I was doing whatever I wanted to do at school. I'm a totally different. And when I get home, yes, ma'am. What you need me to? Okay. Because I know I can't act that way in this house like I can do outside. So how do you find the balance with two children that are in school?
And then that question leads to, are we teaching our children to have double lives? Because if who you are outside of the house is not who I see in my house, then I'm teaching you to be fake. I'm teaching you to be, or is that considered respectful? You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It's like, you got to pick a struggle. You got to pick who, and then that comes to be, kids do not become who you tell them to be. They become who they see. So if they are doing something contrary out of the house than what they're doing in the house, then what do they see in the house that they just can't do in front of you? Mm-hmm. So you then have to take accountability and say, what am I doing? That's why that do as I say, not as I do don't work for me. Yeah. Don't tell me that, because I'm not ever doing that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be who I see. I'm going to do what I see. And so having that mindset as a millennial and having to reprogram myself into thinking, what did I appreciate when I was growing up? Why did I understand or tolerate or, just in general about being a child to now being an adult? How do I understand them? So I have questions now. I ask them and say, where are we right now?
Ding, ding, ding. That's the difference between how we grew up and how you're raising your children. Kids were to be seen, you don't say nothing. I'm not going to ask you how that made you feel because it doesn't matter. You did something, I whooped you, don't do it again. That's what it is. But how did that make you feel? Because some kids, they go to school beating everybody up. You don't even know why. Well, I don't know why. It's a level of anger that they need to get off, so they get it off at school. So asking the question opens up another door to be able to say, I don't have to ask these children what should I do or how should I treat my attitude, I can come to my mom and say, well, this is how that made me feel.
Yeah.
And then that shifts it all together, because we got to go to a therapist for them to tell us and to process our feelings. But kids can come to their parents and say, well, let me talk to you.
Because we're raising human beings. And I had a challenge myself with literally humbling myself down and say, I know I'm an adult, I know I'm a parent, but the only way to understand my child is to take those things, those layers off, and really understand them as a human. As a child who is 13, who is 11, who is 12, who is, because they're only going to be that age one. And I keep telling all of our children, you have the rest of your life to be an adult. So embrace being a child. But I can't treat them like I want them to be an adult when they make a mistake and you tell them to be a child. Like, they're going to make mistakes. It's the repetitiveness, as when I've told you already, I know you have full understanding and you're continuing to do it. So let me come humble myself a little bit more and say, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I do believe our parents love us and they cared about us. They just didn't understand and know how to do what we are attempting to do now without feeling like, because I'm not your friend.
Right.
You know, I'm your parent. I'm not asking you to be my friend, but I am asking you to want to understand, because I don't get it either.
Yeah.
If you don't get it, imagine I only been living 12 years.
Right. I'm not going to understand.
I'm not going to understand that. And so instead of beating me every single time, how about you say, well, you keep doing it. What's wrong? What don't you get? We learn this thing together.
Yeah.
I only been parenting 13 years. You only 13. I only been parenting for 13. And some people don't get it until the fruit of your hands you're not living in. Mm-hmm. And you want to undo it. And that's why I think grandparents have a grace that's unexplainable. It's because they like, dang, I didn't know what I know now. Mm-hmm. And so now your mama and your daddy doing what I did because that's all I knew. But that's why they compassionate. They have way more patience.
Yeah. And they don't like the yelling. My grandmother, she will go and hide in a corner. She can't do the yelling. She can't do the screaming. It vexes her. She feels bad. But she was the parent that didn't play those games, right? But when you're on the outside looking in, you like, that's probably not effective. It's not working. She's going to cry. Then she's going to do the same thing over and over again.
And the child doesn't understand. We understand it because of the experience tied to the discipline, tied to the action. We understand in totality of it. The child only understands, I wanted to do it. I did it. You told me not to. That's it. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the repercussions of and the consequences of doing those things. And if you don't take the time out to have a conversation, it's like, oh, that's that millennial, new generation, modern day age. No. Just like our Father that is in heaven.
Talk.
He gives us opportunity. He says, warning comes before destruction. And a good father, mm-hmm. in all thy getting, let me give you an understanding.
Yeah.
He takes the time to tell you why. He takes the time if you ask. And so we have children. We're those children who ask and said, why?
That's one thing we were going to do is ask. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lay you in the head. Sorry. But y'all going to ask. You're going to say, okay, I'm not quite understanding that. Can you help me? Can you navigate a little bit more? And again, I think that's why you guys are raising your children like that, but it's a balance. You can ask me with understanding. You know, I don't have to go into detail why you shouldn't touch the stove because you're 13. You know that at this point, you're 13 not to do that. But anything else, ask me. I'm an open book. But the difference is for me, I feel like I couldn't ask. I was afraid to. Mm. Children are only going to come when they feel comfortable enough to say, okay, well, my mom is open enough for me to ask, and I'm not going to get in trouble if I say why. Because, growing up, we couldn't say, why can't I do this? You're going to get smacked.
Well, or a shoe thrown at you or a punishment. Some people was getting beat with extension cords.
That ain't my testimony.
That ain't mine either, but I heard stories of it.
Yeah. And now they become, it's either polar opposites. They become where they smacking their kids, or no, let's talk about it because I don't like how that felt for me.
And then it becomes to a standpoint where children start to retreat back, and then they like, well, I'm gonna get in trouble either way it go. Another thing I've learned too is that just like we are different people, you and I, we didn't come from the same womb, we didn't come from the same dad, but we're two different people. You can have identical twins. You can have 6 children, 3, 2. They are completely two different people.
Yeah.
How you train up one and how you reprimand one, it doesn't work for the other one. Not let alone regardless of age.
Right.
We're just talking about two different people. Just because 13 years ago, or you have a 13-year-old and you do this, so you have another child who, when they come 13, well, I did it for them. I'm telling you,
yeah,
that may not work.
And parents know the difference between their kid. One kid I can yell at and they're gonna cry and stop immediately. The other kid, we're gonna have to do different. We're gonna have to go about it a little bit differently because they're not gonna just move off of me yelling.
But do you know your child? That's an assumption that you should. Yeah. But if you're still doing the same thing and it's not effective, do you know your child?
Right.
Are we as millennials taking the time to unplug from our cell phones, unplug from the social media that we're on Facebook? Because we was coming up on MySpace.
Right.
Facebook was the next thing. Now it's Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and all these other things. But are you unplugging from those things for a moment to genuinely, outside of saying, how was your day at school? Oh, it was good. All right, great.
Back on the phone. And then wonder why your child, that's the example. That's the example. They're like, what you mean I can't be on my phone all day long? You on your phone. I'm trying to get your attention. You saying, leave me alone. I'm trying to ask you what I'm about to eat. You saying, it's something in the kitchen. I don't know. Go ahead. And it's like, well, and then when they on their phone, get off your phone, spend family time. You don't even know what that is, Mom.
But because they're doing what they see
that
and not what they do. And then we have the audacity to be mad because your grades are slipping at school. We have the audacity because you are a hermit and you're in your room on your video game all day long. Because you only want affection when you're bored.
Yeah.
As a parent, when you have nothing to do, now you want me to be accessible to you. I'm not a teddy bear. Are we really, really focusing and paying attention to the things that we complain about as children? Are we putting in that level of effort? Are we pulling back from work? And it's like, oh, well, no, I got to work 3 or 4 jobs. And I'm not telling nobody that you shouldn't be getting it and making sure that you are providing. But if the Lord has provided you to be able to birth a child or children in that capacity, how can we continue that and grow them up the way they should go?
Yeah.
And abusing them is not it.
We are so excited to officially announce that we have launched our Patreon. By signing up, you will become a member of our InHerSelf community.
You'll receive exclusive access to our content that is only available to our Patreons, such as behind the scenes, live discussions, and Discord. But most importantly, first dibs on new merch.
To register, visit our link tree in the bio or the description below.
See you at the circle. So one thing I think that we should do as just parents in general, doesn't matter if it's millennial or not, is understanding children on their level. One thing that God checked me about was just spending more quality time. Like getting to know them. Who are they? Outside of like your favorite color and what you do, just spending so that you know that I'm an open space for you to come in and talk to. I wish that I had moments like that where we just went out. We ain't have to go get nothing to eat that would have been great, but just one-on-one that you genuinely care about me.
Yeah.
And not as a group all the time either. Because sometimes we have multiple children and it's like, okay, we all going out as a family. Yeah, but you had me individually. And even if you got, 3 or 4 of them,
you had to push
it was one at a time.
Yeah.
Or pull one at a time.
Right.
Like, can we have that space of just one-on-one time? That, it helps a lot.
I think it's important because then the child feels like you see me. Sometimes when you grow up, it can be with a second sibling or 6th sibling or 5, sometimes they just don't feel seen. So those private moments of it's just me and you, it's just mommy and Sunday, or just mommy and daughter day, then they can open up and be a little bit more vulnerable with you. Because, sometimes they got to play hard in front of their siblings. So they're not going to say everything, or they get embarrassed to say something because their older sibling is like, what? So the private time, I know that that's something that my mom did do. The private time is very important.
And not waiting until things go bad to want to have these conversations. You don't wait until they're stealing or they sneaking out or they doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing to say, okay, well, let's talk now. No, because now you only doing it because I'm doing something that you don't want me to do. You want my action to stop. And so now it matters to you. It should just matter because I'm your child. And the way that we talk, you can call it gentle parenting, whatever kind of parenting you do. I call it, be it as it may. I care. I'm going to come down to your level. I'm going to talk to you the way I want to be. I want it to be talked to, like I'm talking right now. Let's have a conversation. I'm not going to use these big, fabulous words, and I'm not going. And can I talk to my Christian parents too? Stop throwing the Bible at these babies. Stop doing that because you don't listen to God yourself. And I'm over it.
Ooh-wee.
As a PK, I'm over it. Stop doing that. Because what you're doing is making them despise God. Because God don't operate like that. They're not going to hell because they stole a piece of candy. God is not upset with them because they didn't listen to your rules.
Yeah.
Do you love the Lord thy God with all your heart, mind, and soul? How often do you pray and get up in the morning and tell God thank you? But you want to be mad at them? Stop doing that. I had to check. I'm saying this because I had to check me. With loving kindness did God draw me. In spite of what I did, he loved on me. So because he's a good father, that's the implementation I give to my children.
That's
I
the way
love
you
you.
parent. Yeah.
I love you regardless. And because he takes the time to listen to me when I call on him. When I pray, he intently listens to me. So for my child, because my father taught me how to be a parent, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not forcing you to go to church. I'm going to encourage you. I encourage you that the same God that keeps your mother will be the same God that keeps you. My children love God because I love him. I don't have to force it. They ask me when we go into church.
The fruit.
The testimonies of our day to day, I desire it to be different. To genuinely be the change I want to see. And that was one thing that I despised, was feeling like I was going to hell or God wasn't going to love me because of my actions, because of what I did, because I didn't say, I didn't operate, I didn't wear this, I didn't do. And I had to unlearn all of that to learn who the character of God for real. I don't serve God because I'm afraid to go to hell. I serve God because I want to put a smile on his face. Mm-hmm. And so before I became a parent and I had my mother as a parent, all I want to do is make her proud. And when you operate in that capacity, I can turn sin away. I can say no to drugs. I can say no to alcohol. I can say no to fornication. Because I chose to, because that was my desire, not because I'm afraid of you. Mm-hmm. I don't want my kids to fear me. I want respect. But I walk respectfully so that I can get respect. I don't have to force it. They see it.
Yeah.
And they see me be respectful.
So on both ends.
We forget we talked about this before. The scripture that says, train up a child in the way they should go when they won't depart from me, right? And to honor your mother and your father so your days may be long upon the earth. But it also says, parents, do not what? Provoke your children. If you're going to throw the word at them, make sure you eat the whole thing now. Mm-hmm. You can't just read what you want to read. Read Genesis and Revelations.
The whole book.
Eat the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've learned so much about the character of God through my children. The way that I treat them and chastise them, the Lord's like, remember when? Not when you was 10 last week.
Because we still children to the Lord.
Do you remember when yesterday? I told you to do, I told you to say, and you didn't, where's your grace cup? Be careful. Because I'm all y'all daddy. So come down to that level and love on them. They know right from wrong because it was putting them from the time they were born. We're just instilling what is already there.
Right.
But be gentle. It's okay to hug them. When was the last time you hugged your babies?
That's probably a good question. Without them hugging you first. Because kids are affectionate, right? So they're going to come in for the hug.
When was the last time you just genuinely just looked at them and just held on to them?
Yeah.
And it meant something. And grandparents do it all the time. But I'm saying as a parent, even if your child was not, or even if you were not affectionate growing up, you can still turn that around.
Don't wait till your grandparents who want to be the correct parent.
We got some work to do, millennials.
Well, I'm just learning, BB. Because it's like, let me talk to you how my Holy Father would talk to me. Now, I'm not going to punch and kick you. I'm going to hope you through.
We got some work.
Yeah.
And we up for the challenge.
I am. When it's that time.
You got some nieces, nephews to work on.
Lord.
Right.
But as always.
Yes.
In herself, she is love.
In herself, she is beautiful.
In herself, she is strong. Bye.
See y'all next week.
Now you say I didn't want to say it.
Hug your babies. Hug your babies. Love on them. And there go a baby.
I mean, you couldn't wait for us to be done. You happy?
Right.
How you knew it was done? Yeah, give mommy a hug.
Hug your babies.
She gonna hug.
Right. You going to school next week. And the next week after that, in Jesus' name.
I know that's right.
No, amen. Oh, we gotta take pictures.
I love you. Okay. Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Say I love you too. You want to talk on the mic?
Say hello.
I love you too.
Say hi, IHP family.
Hi, Peach family.
Hi, Peach family. Peach family. Say in herself. Come on. Say in herself, she is love.
In herself, she is love.
In herself, she is beautiful.
In herself, and she is beautiful.
In herself, she is strong.
In herself, she is strong.
Say hug your babies.
Huggy babies. Hug your babies.